really lovely to meet you.
Yeah,
and it's been a little bit tortuous getting to this point.
Not
your fault, more mine, because of the internet. But I'm really
my little share.
I'm glad that we finally got to do this, because I've been looking at. I mean, I've got a copy of your second magazine. Voila. Okay. I am a subscriber. So, you've got one too? Well, I'm pleased to see that.
There's the first one.
I've got that one as well. I've also got my magazine. Just going to get in a promotion there. Okay. So it's really cool to see someone launching a new arts magazine dedicated to the arts in Sussex. So I just wanted to find out a bit about you. So can you tell us a bit about your background to just start off with?
Yeah, sure. I am not born in Sussex, but I was brought up in Sussex, in Kingston near Lewes, a village to which I've returned. I've been a journalist for 30 years, living in Italy, Spain, London, a little bit in Cuba even, and latterly in Lewes and Brighton. I have, until COVID, for 15 years, I ran a couple of magazines that were largely culture magazines that some of your viewers might recognize. Viva Lewis and Viva Brighton magazine. I don't know if you came across them.
I did. Yeah.
They were little A5 freebie magazines, but having been a national level journalist in the previous 15 years, I wanted to make them into something that was sophisticated enough to appeal to the sort of audience that I knew that we'd get in Lewes and Brighton, both of which are, in the part anyway, sophisticated towns for the people with high-level cultural tastes. And so I made sure that they were broadsheet standard as much as I could on the kind of shoestring that I had. I say I was part of a team. I did this, I set this up with Nick Williams, who I'd worked with for Future Publishing before in London. And so they were a great success. Viva Lewis ran 15 years, Viva Brighton ran 8 years, it came later. And sadly, for various reasons, when COVID hit, we had to stop them. And I found myself at a loose end. And when kind of the world came back into some sort of normality, I had the choice of trying to start all over again with the Viva magazines, or do something completely different. And I am an episodic type of person. I like doing different things, so I decided on the latter, and ROSA came about.
So you've given us quite a clear idea of your background, being quite the Viva Lewis and Viva Brighton. They had quite an art-centric feel to them, didn't they? Although they were cultural, they did have quite, I mean, I know quite a few artists who you would put on the front cover. Simone Riley, for instance, was on one of your front covers. I know she's a pure artist in the past. And so they had quite an art-centric feel. So why have you gone completely art this time? So review of Sussex Arts, very clear.
Right, yeah. Well, the fact was, starting with Viva Lewis, people complained there was too much art in it, which I always thought was quite strange. And as you said, the cover, the concept for the cover, which is a very rare one actually, is for an artist to make it from scratch. Pretty much, if they wanted to have a completely blank canvas and design the masthead and all the details as well as the main image, that was in it. We did an art roundup of Sussex in both magazines, and we interviewed local artists. But for example, in Lewes, the art scene in Lewes wouldn't have been enough to sustain a whole magazine. The magazine was more about the town in general, or at least the cultural side of the town in general. It started off, the idea was it was a sort of time out for Lewes, which seemed crazy when it started, but actually worked. So if you're thinking about Sussex wide, I mean, one reason is that Sussex is such a vast place that it's a good idea to narrow down and just do the cultural side or the art side. Another thing is I felt like doing it. I'm really passionate about art and the arts, and thought that it would be really interesting to live my life merely within a cultural sphere rather than a broader sphere.
That's really interesting, because you wanted to. I think that's such a cool answer. And people ask me why I started Pure, and I will say exactly the same. Because I wanted to. And I was privileged enough that I could make that decision myself. And I think that's really cool, because you come to it with an open mind, don't you? Of like, this is going to be joyful, and I'm going to have a great time doing it. That brings quite a different energy to a magazine than the ones that are like, I'm doing this because I've been told to and I've got to make money.
Right, yeah. I mean, yeah. For example, as everyone who sets up a business knows, there's not a hell of a lot of money in it for yourself to start with anyway. So you want to be doing it for the joy of it, and the joy of setting up a new magazine. I have been editor of magazines for many years, all sorts of different magazines, and there's a great joy in starting a new one from afresh and working out the concept and working out the slots and working out how it's going to look and working out what sort of thing's going to be in it, and then making that come to fruition is fantastic, particularly when the first issue comes out. There are always a fingers crossed that it's always, that everything's going to be all right, as it was pretty much.
Oh, they look beautiful. They're beautifully done.
They have, and we have continued. I mean, we understand that you do judge a magazine by its cover, because you have to pick it off the shelf, or wherever you see it, and so yeah, it's very important to us to have a very beautiful cover, which I believe we've achieved in both, one with Fergus Hare and two with the Baron Gilvan, two Sussex-based artists. And that's the philosophy. I want to say that we've continued the philosophy that we had at Viva, which is to get a living, emerging, probably artist to do a new cover for us. This time not including the masthead, but a new piece of work that we have commissioned to come out, so the first time anyone sees it is on the cover of our magazine, and that helps us, and it certainly helps the artist as well. And that's very much part of our remit, is to promote local art with for practicing artists, and to do interviews and let people know about them and their exhibitions and other events.
I'm going to come back to what you look for. I just wanted to finish off the discussion about the design of the magazine, and I love the way you've chosen different fonts. The font for the actual written work, and then the very unusual font for your images. I really, as an artistic person, appreciated that like small detail when I'm looking through the magazine. It just kind of stands out. Fonts are important, aren't they?
They certainly are, and for that and much else, I must say, I can't take credit. I guess it's important to say here, I am part of a team. I'm part of a team of 4 directors, 2 couples, myself and my wife Rowena, who is the artistic director, and Jessica Wood and David Burke, who are another couple, and Jessica is the publisher. David is the technical director. Now, when it comes to the font and the choice of the font, there's a 5th person involved in that, who is our designer, who runs a company called Geometric Love. He's based in Brighton, called Steve Highland, and it was he gave us various choices. And Rowena, the artistic director, was very sort of much part of that choice herself. So yeah, we think very carefully about that sort of thing, and it's great to not have it just sort of your bog standard, sans serif, easy to read type font.
Yeah, I think it's important when you're working in an artistic field that you are considering the artistic elements of what you do, the quality of the images, the clarity, the way you present it on a page is all very curated in the magazine. Is the vibe that I'm getting, and I really appreciate that as someone who, I'm not going to be picking up loads of magazines, but I want to be able to feel that it's been curated for me when I'm looking through it. It will hold my attention better. So yeah, I commend you. It's a beautifully put together magazine.
Well, thank you. I mean, the idea, part of the thing was coming from a pair of A5 magazines, where you really have to pack everything in because there's not much room. To move to one that's actually awkwardly not quite A4, it's slightly bigger.
Slightly squarer, isn't it?
You can see it's kind of wider. So the beauty of that was the room to breathe, the room, the ability to put a picture on a whole page with a lot of white space around it, and have the picture speak for itself, which is a joy. And I think when you're reading a magazine, you don't want it all packed. You want to sort of go, oh, that's nice. Oh, I can breathe a bit now before you go on to the next article. And Steve and Rowena, as the sort of designer and artistic director, have achieved that very well indeed, I think.
Yeah, as anyone who knows me will know, I'm a much appreciator of the white space.
Right. Okay.
I don't like everything crammed in claustrophobically. I like everything to have its place and its time and its space to breathe. So no, I'm very much appreciative of the layout and how it looks. And I think, again, from an artistic point of view, therefore it will resonate with artists and it will likely attract that audience as well. So that's, very encouraging, I hope, for you. You said in the beginning, obviously Brighton and Lewes were the two places where you were doing magazines before, and I can see from the first two editions that it's been quite Brighton and Lewes centric, although you are saying that the third edition will be a focus on Eastbourne. Is your plan to positively try and expand out into the east side of Sussex as opposed to the more over the west side of Sussex?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've tried actually quite a lot to not be Brighton centric. Of course, there are lots of things in Brighton. I don't think Brighton actually is it's got its plus points, but I think it could really do with an art gallery, let's face it. And so we have spread our wings right across from Chichester with, of course, Pallant House, right the way to Rye, with the Rye Contemporary, and aim to continue doing so as much as possible. For example, in the first issue, we focused on St Leonard's as the town that we visited, and in the second issue it's Petworth, and so we tried to go east and west, and of course Sussex, if you count it as an entity, which we are, is an extremely wide county. It's I don't know, 150, 200 miles from one end to the other. The fact that I can't drive, and neither can my wife Rowena, doesn't help matters, but we do get about. We spend an awful lot of time on the train, going from east to west and vice versa.
Thank goodness for Zoom.
Yeah, I suppose so. But I'm very much, Zoom's great, and particularly has been great, but I'm very much a believer as a journalist in where possible, meeting somebody in the flesh. You get so much more out of the encounter. I'm not trying to do down this this process, but
no, I am completely in agreement with you. I do love an in real life, but obviously that is very limited to the amount of people who can actually experience it. So I think there's, the pros to doing the Zoom interview where people can actually watch it forevermore is great, but let's not do that to the exhaustion of not having in real life meetings,
right,
please.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking really about print journalism, where it's important for me to be able to set the scene. So if I go and see if I talk to an artist, I would like, if possible, to talk to them in their studio. If they're a painter, where I can smell the paint, where they can pull the paintings out, where they can show me, where they can gesture around, where I can get a real feel of them, the living, breathing them, rather than something else. And I've always gone for that. It's a great privilege to be able to do so as well.
I love visiting. That's what I'm doing the end of this week. I'm going to Birmingham to see one of our artists in the studio, and I just love it. I love visiting artist studios. It's just, yeah, it's just the best day's work.
Right,
It really is the most wonderful experience. So saying that, what do you look for, when artists want to get into the magazine and they want you to come and see their studio? How do you want them to approach you, and what are you looking for specifically?
Well, I mean, we're always open to approach, and we'll give any artists the attention that they deserve, which is obviously a lot of attention. We can't promise anything, particularly in the print magazine, because the space is very limited. It's not all about visual arts as well. Mostly it is, but it's not entirely. We do have an Instagram account at the ROSA Mag, which gives us a lot more leeway to promote artists and exhibitions across Sussex, and Twitter similarly at the ROSA Mag. We can promote stuff on that, and we also have a web page which gives us a bit more space to do features about artists if we have time to do it, which is rosamagazine.co.uk. So the thing to do would be to approach us. There needs to be a Sussex angle. The artist ideally living in Sussex or from Sussex, or the art is about Sussex, because those are the self-imposed limits that we have.
I was going to say, it's a review of Sussex Arts, so it'd be a bit weird if they wanted to talk about something in Liverpool.
It would, yeah. I mean, if they're from Sussex, maybe, but it's about Sussex really. So yeah, just approach us. Find the web magazine, editorial at rosamagazine.co.uk, and just let us know examples of your work, anything that you're doing, any exhibitions that you're showing, and we'll certainly give everything consideration. We aim to get to know the local scene as much as we possibly can, and therefore we need to get to know as many artists and makers as we can, and their work. So every idea is welcome.
That's brilliant. And if you do subscribe, then at the very fly cover, all of the emails are in there anyway, so they can approach you directly.
Right.
So that's all the detailed emails of all the people that you've been discussing while we've been chatting, which is great. And that comes on to, how do people subscribe? Because I know how I did it, but how should people subscribe for the magazine? Tell us about that.
There will be, you can see in the various outlets that we have, which is mainly the galleries and certain bookshops in and around, mainly in Sussex, East and West Sussex. You'll see what are called table talkers, funny little cardboard triangular things which you can scan, etc., etc. That's one way of doing it, but the easiest way of doing it, frankly, is to go onto our website, rosamagazine.co.uk. And there's a whole method of subscribing prominently up there. You can either go for one issue, and if you like it, then think about maybe subscribing annually, or you can go straight annually.
I think I paid £32, is it?
That's
for
right,
an annual subscription?
Yeah.
And how many magazines will people get if they subscribe annually?
It's a quarterly mag.
So four a year.
Four a year, one per season.
And I have to say, it is lovely. It's such a treat coming through the door, and you don't have to go searching around for it in a bookshop or something,
right,
or in a garage where there's one copy been thumbed through while people are waiting for having their tires repaired or whatever, which is normally the case. So no, I really enjoy getting that through, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to have on your coffee table, because as you say, it's always got a beautiful piece of exclusive artwork on the front. So yeah, so £32 for the 4 a year, and I've done it. It was very straightforward. Just went straight on the website and did it. And can artists contact you through Instagram? Because artists love Instagram.
Yeah, of course. That's one of the main ways that people do contact us. So yes, at the ROSA
message
Mag,
away.
message away. Yeah, we're there for you.
Brilliant. So they can get hold of you that way. So the next edition, as I say, is focusing on Eastbourne. So are you looking for anything in particular from artists so that we can let them know if they want to be in contact?
Yeah, well, it's not that the whole magazine will be focused on Eastbourne, but we figure with the exciting news for Sussex that Towner Eastbourne has been given the Turner Prize in 2023. We figure that that's going to generate a lot of interest around Eastbourne, and I know for a fact that there are a lot of new things going on. So we, knowing that a lot of people will be thinking about going to Eastbourne, we're going to give some cultural tips about what to do when you're there, what you can see, what art you can see, which pubs you can go to after you've seen the art, where's a nice place to eat, etc., etc. We do that with a town or village every issue. Is Eastbourne's turn.
It's Eastbourne's turn. Perfect.
Yeah.
Let us know when it's, because we're much further over towards Hastings. So let us know when it's Hastings' turn, because we'll definitely have things to say.
Well, we did St Leonard's in the first one, as you know.
Yeah.
So,
we're going to be waiting for a while for Hastings, aren't
I?
So
Hastings, having done St Leonard's, Hastings is a little bit near.
I have to wait for a year
or two. Yeah.
Oh darn. That's brilliant. So artists get hold of you via the website, via Instagram, email you, etc. And if you want to subscribe anyone to the magazine, then obviously that's on the website. That's easy, or these little flyer cards. And any businesses in Eastbourne for next time, any pubs, clubs. The port. Yeah. I do love the port.
That'll be a good place to put the ad next to.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. And plans for the future. Do you have plans of expanding or doing anything different for the future, or is this, your sole focus for right now?
I would imagine that ROSA. I mean, in our dreams, ROSA is a brand that will grow beyond the magazine. The magazine is the flagship. The social media is a lot of hard work and a joy, and keeps us in touch on a day-to-day basis. We have a website which is a sort of the first version of what will soon, not soon, but sort of in the coming months, will become a much bigger beast. The website is already gives a lot of information about what's on. We give the top 10 things that you can do in Sussex culture-wise. We've also got coming up, which is actually one of the most more well looked at pages on the website, which gives you what's coming up in which gallery over the next few months. Information that people don't, it's hard to find in one place, as well as a column that I write more occasionally than I'm into, features, etc., etc. But we want to expand that to having a much more detailed listing system, so whereby you can go, okay, what's on in Hastings, boom, or what's on visual arts wise in Hastings, boom, etc., etc. So that's an aim, is to get that up and running.
Oh, that would be super cool, that people have one like a one-stop shop for uploading their events and also finding out what else is going on. Yeah,
so that doesn't exist, so that would be valuable. Also, we with next month we're dipping our toe into having it, putting on an exhibition of paintings. In fact, no, of art, because there's some ceramics and sculpture in there as well. In Lewes, we're based in Lewes, in Lewes House, a famous house in art history, where Rodin's The Kiss was first commissioned. And opposite that, we're using a pop-up gallery called Gallery 207 for a small exhibition of Sussex landscapes that starts early October, using local artists, and we are just trying that out to see how it goes, and that would be an ambition to become gallerists as well, have a gallery, have a cafe, all these things.
The things.
Who knows? It would be lovely. It would be lovely to expand it into something. The brand is already quite recognised. I think we've worked hard on the brand, and we could use that, but that's all in the future. At the moment, we want to continue getting this thing out every quarter.
People will be able to come and get you to make them a cup of coffee, buy a painting, get an interview. You'll be a very, very busy man.
Yeah.
You're going to need some more people, I think.
I think so. Yeah. Well, we've got a team already, but yes, we already need more people.
Oh, that sounds really exciting. Thank you so much for talking to me. It's been really interesting and fascinating to hear about why ROSA and how the journey's coming on. And it'd be really interesting to have maybe another chat in a year, 18 months time to just see how it's all evolving and how it's all coming along. But for now, thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you for having me, Lesley. It's been a great pleasure to talk to you.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.